Welcome to this Tuesday training all about the vagus nerve, appetite regulation, and regaining your health. My name is Ashley Anderson, registered dietitian, personal trainer, and owner of Move Fully Nourished, where we specialize in nutrition and exercise coaching to help active adults achieve stress-free, realistic, and sustainable fat loss using a mindful and intuitive eating approach. We also help individuals with diabetes, autoimmune conditions, GI issues like celiac disease and Crohn's and IBS, disordered eating patterns, new and pregnant mamas, picky eaters, and your everyday exerciser looking to live their best life and most fulfilling life through sustainable, healthy habit changes. So for people with symptoms ranging from fatigue to depression to anxiety, digestive issues from IBS to SIBO to IBD, brain fog, and even food sensitivities, the vagus nerve almost always plays an important role in both sickness and in healing, and needs to be supported so that you can truly, deeply heal. The vagus nerve is the longest of the cranial nerves. It starts in the brain where it sends signals to the cells there, and then it wanders through the body from brain through the neck and throat and to the heart and to the lungs. The vagus nerve moves down to the gut and digestive organs like the liver, the pancreas, the gallbladder, and all the way down to the kidneys and the uterus. So signals are constantly flowing from the brain to the body and back from the body to the brain via the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve tone is key in what activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest, the digest system. And improved vagal tone supports your body and your mind in relaxing faster after a stressful scenarios. And studies have shown that there's a positive feedback loop between the vagus tone, the optimal physical health, and positive emotions. That is, the more that you support your vagus nerve and improve the tone, the better you'll feel overall. So what are some of the common symptoms of vagus nerve dysregulation? So when it's not functioning optimally: irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, that's SIBO, depression, anxiety, chronic fatigue, high or low heart rate, difficulty swallowing, insomnia, trouble sleeping, gastroparesis, so also known as delayed gastric emptying, heartburn, reflux, gastritis, GERD, dizziness, fainting, B12 deficiency, chronic inflammation, and weight regulation issues, having difficulty losing weight. And if you've watched my videos before, you know that there are two important nervous systems in our body, comprised within our body. So the sympathetic nervous system is that fight or flight, and the parasympathetic nervous system is the rest and digest. And the vagus nerve is part of the parasympathetic, the rest and digest system. And this is the system that really supports us, calming us down, centering ourselves, chilling out, right? And as well as digesting our food and having a healthy reproductive system and overall ability to heal our body. When we are on high alert or the sympathetic nervous system is activated, the nervous system dominance, the vagus nerve, is neither giving nor getting the signals it needs to do its job properly. So it is challenged to support us as we attempt to rest and digest. It makes it very difficult to do those two things. So let's talk a little bit about digestion and appetite regulation with the vagus nerve. So when the vagus function is out of whack, digestion for sure is out of whack. So the symptoms that can be included here, like I mentioned before, so heartburn, GERD, IBD, or inflammatory bowel diseases like ulcerative colitis, can prevent the body from healing and small bacterial overgrowth. So a frequent root cause of IBS really is dysregulation there. And the vagus nerve is a part of the system that tells us, or really tells the stomach, to put out digestive acids and juices and to start the movement of the gut. When we chew our food, we start the process of mixing the fibers in our food with the digestive acids, and then the enzymes are what helps to break down the food. But before it reaches the stomach, before flowing into the small and then into the large intestines. So when the vagus nerve isn't getting or sending those signals, the flow of food mixed with acid through the gut is slowed down. You might feel things getting sticky. You might feel things just feeling like they're stuck. And this means that overgrowths of bacteria, yeast, parasites, as well as used up hormones and toxins that the body worked to eliminate from the body are moving through the gut at a slower rate. So things stay in your body for longer periods of time, kind of wreaking havoc in different organs and systems that they don't belong in. So IBS and SIBO risk are increased with more exposure to those bacteria, waste products, which potentially worsen those infections that are currently present. And then exposure to more hormones than your body had planned and can really throw all your hormones off balance. So the foods that we often crave are also a product of our physiology and our psychology, right? So what you think, I always tell my clients, where mindset goes, energy flows. So there's a pattern here, and what we talked about with the sympathetic nervous system, stress response, and the vagus nerve. But appetite is different than hunger. Hunger is our physical need to eat. You can want to eat, but you may not need to eat. For example, wanting to eat a big dessert after a big meal and you're already full. Or you can need to eat, but don't want to eat. For example, losing your interest in food when you're stressed out or you have too much going on. So how does this all work, and really what are the driving factors? Appetite is governed by two organ systems of the body, the endocrine system and the nervous system. Look at the overlap here, the nervous system. And your GI tract is one of the biggest hormone regulators in your body. It produces and processes all kinds of hormones, and which ranges from neurotransmitters and anabolic storage hormones to sex hormones. And the origins, or I should say the organs of the endocrine system are sensitive to those changes in the body. And in response to those changes, they send out messages, which are called hormones. Those are those little messengers. And they tell the body how to respond. And those energy regulating hormones are classified into either short-term or long-term. The vagus nerve is the key connection between the gut and the brain. Various hormones play a role in appetite regulation and energy balance. And I'm going to touch base on a few of them. This is nowhere near an inclusive list, but there are a few that I wanted to highlight. So calcitonin, for example, the hormone that is released in response to gastrin and changes in your calcium, your serum calcium levels in the body, and is a complementary signal response for really fine-tuning the eating process. Another hormone that's important is amylin, which is a partner hormone to insulin. You may have heard insulin before when we're talking about glucose or sugar or diabetes, and it's released after meals. So amylin is released after meals. It slows the emptying of our stomach and then suppresses glucagon. Glucagon is what raises blood sugar. There's also GLP-1. So this is released when blood glucose levels are above normal, and it's secreted by the cells in the gut and in proportion to really the amount of food or beverages or energy totals that's ingested, and it can help again in signaling the brain to stop eating. So I want you to kind of start thinking about these hormones, what they're doing, how this impacts your digestive health overall, but how this relates to the vagus nerve. Leptin is another hormone that is released when low calorie intake and low body fat levels, and it's secreted by the fat cells. So low leptin means a slower metabolism and drive to really increase food consumption. So if there's leptin overload, there's a lot to be said about leptin here, and maybe another video for another time. But gastrin, another one, is a hormone that is secreted by cells in the stomach, the small intestine, and it initiates the digestion process. It's released when food enters into your stomach, and also protein-dense foods are the most potent stimulator of gastrin. Two more I'm going to talk about. So CCK, which is cholecystokinin. It's released when protein and fats enter the small intestine, which then in turn triggers satiety in the brain. So then, you feel like you're satisfied after a meal. You can move forward, you can move on. The last one I want to mention today is ghrelin, and this is released in response to low food intake. So I often refer to it as the growling, hungry tummy, the ghrelin growl, and it stimulates the growth of, or the release of, growth hormone to encourage eating and acts as a regulator for energy balance in the long term. There's a lot to be said too about growth hormone, the benefits actually of having more growth hormone, but again, maybe for another time. So let's go back to the vagus nerve. When the vagus nerve is under or overactive, which is rare, the brain's hypothalamus isn't signaling the brain's pituitary gland appropriately. The pituitary gland is really the downstream signal, the adrenal glands. Everything gets confused when this isn't stimulated appropriately. And the system is known as the HPA axis. Okay. When the communication is affected, several hormones can't get over or under produced. So just like we talked about before with all the hormones that I mentioned, they have a difficult time communicating. So this can be the part of a set of hormones or symptoms that are commonly referred to as adrenal fatigue. Maybe you've heard that term. And while the name isn't exactly maybe what we would say is like scientifically correct, it's really a useful short term to chronic exhaustion, hyperstimulation leading to anxiety, insomnia, and really just generally feeling like revved up. And this can lead to a combination of fatigue, lack of motivation, again, anxiety, insomnia, and generally just feeling blah. So the vagus nerve stimulation plays a big role in helping the body understand when a situation is a true emergency and it's life-threatening, so time to stimulate the sympathetic nervous system, or when it's maybe just a scenario like your boss is being your boss, or a looming deadline over your head, or your kid gets sick. These are important things that are happening in your life, but maybe this isn't a life-threatening emergency in this moment. So it's recognizing the difference. So there are ways, fortunately, that we can jumpstart the vagus nerve, and we can do some daily practices that will help to increase the stimulation and increase the functionality of the vagus nerve. So the overall function really of your heart, your lungs, your digestion, your reproductive system, your hormone system can all be improved by optimizing your vagus nerve function. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is pick one or two things that I'm going to list out now. I'm going to send you talk about 10 that you can add into your daily routine and start simple. See if stimulating the vagus nerve can become a part of your healthcare habits. So number one, sing loudly for all to hear, like in the movie Elf, singing loudly for all to hear. So I'm not talking like a quiet hum, but like a full-on top of your lungs, sing your voice, belt it out. And, maybe you do this in the shower. Maybe you don't really want everyone to hear your voice, or maybe you sign up for a choir or a local group in your community. But singing really helps to stimulate the muscles in the back of your throat, which activates the vagus nerve. And as they move, so really again, singing as loudly as possible, oxytocin, which is the calming hormone that's released at birth, is also released when we sing. It's kind of interesting tying those two together. Option number two, gargle. You could use regular filtered water to do this. I typically do this in the shower because we have a whole house water filter, so I can be sure our shower water is safe to gargle. You want to gargle hard enough so that your eyes start to water. So the added benefit is that this could maybe make you laugh or giggle, which of course has a whole nother amazing benefit, as laughter is the best medicine. But in this case, laughter also stimulates the vagus nerve. So watching something funny, or someone telling a joke, or just being surrounded by joy. And laughter increases endorphins, beta endorphins, and nitric oxide, and that also helps the vascular system too. Okay, number 3, build in some daily meditation, especially chanting. So not quiet meditation, or maybe even more of like a like creating that vibration in your throat. And if you've ever taken a yoga class or a meditation class, that is something that is common. And to be honest, years ago, I was just always thought that was so funny. And it feels weird at first to do that, because if it's not a part of your culture, it's not something you grew up doing, it tends to feel, it just feels weird. So what I'm trying to get to, my point is that when you do this, the vibrations in the throat also help to stimulate the vagus nerve, which from the singing before that we just talked about, you can see the connection there. Then number 4, exposing yourself to cold water or air. The vagus nerve is stimulated when the body is expressed to cold. So the sympathetic fight or flight system, that's down-regulated, so works less when the parasympathetic rest digest system is up-regulated or asked to work more to help calm you. So sometimes at the end of a shower, as an example, I will go for as long as I can in the cold water. So I'll turn the water all the way to cold. I started off with just like a couple seconds, just like, whoosh, and then working up to a minute, which can definitely take some practice in doing that. Or I have friends and colleagues who will plummet into ice baths after they've gone for a long run. So that's a quick contrast as your body's very hot, and then getting to a cold internal state. Number 5 is doing some yoga. Both the parasympathetic nervous system and the vagus nerve are stimulated by yoga practice. So sun salutation, breathing through. Number 6 is meditate. Meditation and deep breathing both stimulate the vagus nerve. So whatever meditation really works best for you. Some people like guided meditation. Some people like to really just focus on breath, doing 5 to 10 deep belly breaths that are slow and controlled. It really doesn't matter what you choose, but just as long as you make a daily habit of doing at least 2 minutes of meditation and deep breathing a day. And then number 7 is exercise. So when we move, the digestive system is stimulated. And if you're an active runner, you totally know what I'm talking about, or someone who's an avid exerciser. And the peristaltic, so it's like the movements, the wave-like movements, not paralysis, that'd be like stopping. Peristaltic movement through the colon is also activated. So this movement is controlled by, again, the vagus nerve, which is also, again, stimulated by exercise, all types of exercise. So whatever exercise, whatever movement works for you, then it's the right one to start with. So just get some form of gentle movement every day. Then number 8 is getting a massage. So massaging different parts of the body, especially feet, along with the carotid, the sinuses, the side of your neck, carotid artery, which you can do on your own for free, but also to stimulate the vagus nerve here. But also it's nice to just get a massage done by a professional. And, one of the things, so massage is often used to get newborns. So fun fact, newborn babies to gain weight because it stimulates their vagus nerves, therefore increasing their gut function. For newborns, again, we're talking about a totally different population. So don't think by stimulating your vagus nerve, I'm talking about increasing your body composition. I'm not. Different scenarios. Number 9 is try intermittent fasting. I've talked a little bit about it in the past before, and research shows that fasting can also help increase the vagal tone as well. So fasting may sound intimidating at first, but really all I'm talking about is finishing your dinner at 6 to 7 p.m. and then not eating until 7 or 8 a.m. So that's like a 12 to 13 to 14 hour fast. So while you're sleeping, that's a part of the time that your body is helping to improve your vagal tonality. Or you can compress your eating into an 8 to 10 hour window, or from 9 to 7, or even from longer fasts. But again, this is really something that should be worked on with a healthcare professional, or and looking at if you have diabetes. There's some populations that it's not appropriate for. But again, just looking at the Even if you just start off with the last meal to the first meal, that can help increase vagal tonality. Number 10, work with a coach. Your chronic, habitual, negative thoughts about yourself will keep your vagus nerve firing in sympathetic or shutdown mode completely. When you start to look at your thoughts, you can support yourself to find more emotional and mental balance and thus balancing your vagus nerve. At Move Fully Nourished, we work with our clients on mindset, on motivation, on relaxation techniques, and how to balance a healthy diet with movement to create a sustainable habit change that really lasts for your lifestyle and your needs in your own world so that you can take back your health. My name again is Ashley Anderson. Thanks so much for joining me today. Have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday. Can't wait to see you next time.